Okay, so in Saturus versus JHS, I said something like, Knef versus Galcian, this will be awesome because Soban versus Coalition is so boring. We're going to find out if that's true, because we now have, in the black, Soban carrier, Mordax Praetorian, who I'm really not that familiar with, but I've been getting to know in this Artifact Cup, and in some cups since then, so definitely excited to see what Mordax is going to do here. And his opponent is Lorenzo, somebody who has been playing DOK for quite a while, seemingly off and on. I think he might live in a time zone that makes it more difficult for him to get matches with a lot of players, but Lorenzo is definitely a name that we've seen a lot. So I know a little bit of what to expect from him, but I think this is actually probably quite evenly matched. If I had to take a guess on who's going to win this just based on the players alone, I think Lorenzo might have the upper hand here. However, based on the performance that we've seen in the Cup so far, Lorenzo is the kind of player who gains a ton of advantages and does really, really well, and then doesn't use those advantages well. Just completely forgets that he has something like a ton of carrier power or a ton of units in production that are just about to pop out. Like, seems like a lot of times Lorenzo has those moments where it's like, but you could have just won if you realized what was going on. And he does a really good job at managing his economy and everything else, and just sometimes makes those mistakes, which is, you know, I can't say that I've never done that. I've certainly done that a whole lot myself. Keeping track of everything in the game all at the same time is challenging. Mordax, on the other hand, is kind of the opposite. I'll often watch Mordax play and go, dude, like, you know, you're making so many mistakes, you're like not holding it together, you're not even doing the basic economy stuff right, but then he'll like pull it together and do something actually really quite brilliant and pull out a you know, either a win or at the very least win a fight, right? So between these two players, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. We can see kind of off the bat, Lorenzo's a little more prepared here with the LAVs, and he's going to take out some of Mordax's. Mordax is a little bit up on economy, though, I think. Maybe not. Maybe Lorenzo's been remote mining here.
Standing by.
And the other thing I really want to see is if this game is going to be as exciting as JHS versus Saturus, the Galcian versus Knef game, or if this is going to be really boring. This is rough. Mordax moving his base runner through this low zone on Titan Passage. Lorenzo not punishing him too hard for it, but he's going to take the base runner nonetheless.
We have lost an artifact.
Alert, base runner lost. A sensor post is taking hostile fire. A sensor post has been lost.
Something Soban players do a lot is they drop things like the targeting disruptor, they drop things like ALMs, and ALMs in particular are expensive. That ALM was not worth it, right? 250 CUs this early in the game, when we have this little in our wallet, or in the bank, so to speak. I don't think that was really worth it. It certainly didn't save the base runner. It didn't allow the AAVs to get closer. It's very tempting because you're like, oh man, I need something right now. Well, I'll just click the carrier and send my ALM out, and it'll have a gun, right? But unless you've got carrier power at, you know, like 4 or 5 levels in ALMs, I really don't think it's worth it. You need to be able to pair ALMs with other kinds of units. So placing them defensively like this is okay, especially when we've got some AAVs ready to assist, because now any sand skimmers, or excuse me, any LAVs that come in here will certainly die, but only if there's backup for this unit. The Coalition, meanwhile, don't really have that problem. They just need to place their logistics modules where they will provide vision and also not die. There's a turret here. Really nicely positioned, just almost perfectly on that hill. None of you Dambus, if you are watching, take notes. This is how you turret. The railguns here is going to totally clean up this AAV, and notice the armor here being reduced. Not reduced from incoming damage. Railguns have the Sunder ability, so they do reduce target armor for a period of time. Tren has been labbing this a little bit, seeing how it affects things, and we found that, yes, shooting with a railgun once and then following up with AAVs does a lot of damage. I say we, really, it's Tren found it, and I helped be the other player to confirm it in a real scenario, but cool to see that in action.
A railgun has been lost.
It's probably always been there, and just I haven't really been paying attention to it.
Sensor post under fire.
Now, in a situation like this, when you're a Soban player and your railguns are being attacked by AAVs, and you've got a few of them. Now, granted, Mordax doesn't have a few of them anymore. He's only got one.
Sensor post down.
You can use Mark Target to get a little bit better accuracy against small, fast-moving targets. But
taking effective fire.
Those railguns all did go down to these LAVs. Not very many of them at all, and also an armed logistics module went down. The ALM did not kill any LAVs. So, I don't think that these were worth it. You need to have like an AAV sitting by the ALM in order for it to be worth it, I think. Otherwise, there's just no real way to capitalize on the ALMs there, when they're so low level anyway.
Copy, go ahead.
Mordax does have Power Reserve 1, but that doesn't even give him another level in the ALMs. So,
Salvager construction complete. Spectrum analysis has identified an artifact.
Both players really even on economy.
Additional fabrication facilities.
You know, pretty even on map control, honestly. The unit comp is like... never mind, I didn't know there was air. Okay, the unit comp totally is favoring Lorenzo right now because he can fire from the air, and Mordax can't fire back. So we're going to see how that works. But I was going to say the map control is fairly even and the unit comp fairly even.
Engaging armored unit. Hostile interceptor has opened fire.
So let's play a game. How quickly does Mordax... Yeah. Mordax very quickly gets missile battery fabrication in response to seeing these aircraft. He'll lose a few AAVs, but at least it's not railguns. He already lost those to LAVs.
Enemy contact on sensors.
For fighting aircraft, by the way, don't bunch these up. Spread them out. Especially if you are Soban, because the Soban carrier does not have repair beams. So if you want to repair as Soban, you have to go back to a support cruiser.
Armored assault ready for assembly.
Kind of a bummer. This unit here is basically dead. LAVs could kill this trivially. It should really... It has no business being here. It should be going back to that support cruiser right away. This one too, probably. No, don't go back home. You are on fire. It's like not even your engine's on fire, but like everything in, it's like you have two engines, one in front, one in back, and they're both on fire.
Artifact location confirmed. Armor moving out.
This unit, I guarantee you, is going to die before it does any damage.
Contact. Enemy strike fighter airborne. The sensor post is taking hostile fire. Armored vehicle taking effective
Missile ship
fire.
there taking out one interceptor, so that's nice to see.
Enemy contact on the board. Enemy interceptor engaging units.
Copy.
Hostile unit marked.
Well, we're gonna watch that anyway. LAV's coming around the side, not being spotted, and there's no... Well, there's an ALM here, okay.
Salvager ready.
It's not another ALM. There's no AV back here to protect that. And this ping was seen by Mordax. He knows...
Contact on the board.
Or at least it could have been seen. He should know that there's this force coming back here. And still his AAVs are moving back, or excuse me, moving forward. And I just want to point out, if an AAV had been back here repairing, it would be ready to deal with these LAVs. Now, though, the support cruiser could even die.
Tracking hostile.
So we're going to watch both fights here, because over here,
Armored unit
Lorenzo
lost.
has
Are under attack.
a lot of railguns up in a really good position. Meanwhile, Mordax's were caught behind, and so the AAVs entered the battle a little bit too soon before the railguns were there to support. The missile batteries here also not really up with the AAVs. And these AAVs could possibly have smokes to get in closer, but these railguns really nicely spread out. This is an awesome way to position railguns from Lorenzo. A bunch of them getting high ground bonuses, and no matter where the AAVs go, they're really only going to be in range of 1 or 2 railguns and have to move around in order to get access to more, allowing Lorenzo to just totally pick off the AAVs, and also making these missile batteries much less effective against the railguns. So now Mordax's railguns really spread out, not accomplishing a whole lot. Some of them being taken out by this turret. Mordax had the unit comp, you know, totally down. His missile batteries nullified the aircraft, and that left Lorenzo with kind of a piece missing. But now this assault has been torn apart. Now in the background there we saw an explosion. 2 support cruisers have gone down to these 7 or 8 LAVs. Oh my gosh. And then these salvagers are going to die. These salvagers have to remote mine. There are railguns coming to try and clean this up. I just want to point out, Mordax, I told you. AAV, right there. Save your day.
Enemy sighted.
This game is totally different now. 2 fights simultaneously giving Lorenzo a massive advantage. And honestly, I think it didn't have to go that way. Lorenzo didn't do anything super crazy. It was really cool to bring the LAVs around. It was really cool to do positioning here.
Enemy contact on the board.
Definitely showing that he's a coordinated player.
Enemy unit detected. Railgun engaging enemy units. A sensor post is taking
But
hostile fire.
this is not looking good for Mordax.
Railgun destroyed.
And I think a few simple things could probably defend against this in the future. So I like to often say that
Missile battery destroyed.
how do I put this? If you've heard the name A-Game Anks, and you know how good he is, you know, people often kind of gush over A-Game Anks and how great he is, and he's such an amazing player. And the reality is, A-Game Anks is like, even when he can consistently beat someone, he's not like 5 times as good as they are. He's like 10% better than they are. But that 10% is enough to win like every time,
Enemy engaging armored unit.
This is a situation where Mordax is now super far behind and is going to have a really hard time and probably has no way to bring this game back from this point. It's possible. I could see a couple ways, but it's going to be really tough. But it just takes a few little things to totally defeat a player like Lorenzo here. Things like leaving 1 or 2 AAVs back home. Even if you don't have to repair them, just leaving them back there helps. Don't build units if there are aircraft out, unless you're building anti-air. but AAVs, don't build them unless you're going to either charge forward with them or take care of the aircraft first or something. Don't send ALMs forward just to kind of toss them out because they're expensive. Support cruiser anti-air. Now, I'm more opinionated about this. I never get support cruiser anti-air. I think missile batteries, if you're going to build them, are a smarter use of money. Might as well not pay for the expensive tech, but, you know, maybe that one's not actually such a critical mistake. It did kill a fighter. But sending a support cruiser out like this when there's LAVs just hanging out there, come on. The support cruiser's almost dead.
Tracking enemy target.
Such an unnecessary risk to take.
Contact on the board.
Oh, yeah, this, come on. That ALM is not going to kill anything.
A sensor post has been lost. Awaiting orders. An assault cruiser has been lost.
Assault cruiser?
LAV
I think that meant a support cruiser.
Salvager
So,
destroyed.
yeah, I think this is pretty well over. The economy of Mordax is in shambles.
Hostiles engaging command carrier.
There are railguns from Lorenzo on Mordax's carrier.
Hostile fire. Enemy railgun firing on friendly.
This is definitely GG territory. Lorenzo, by the way, not even using his map control. He's got a base runner out here, and he's just not even ferrying artifacts. Could have won the game that way already.
A salvager has been lost.
But at the same
Armored
time,
vehicle taking effective fire.
Mordax could kind of have been ferrying at the same time. Like, Ferrying artifacts over there and guarding with 1 AAV or so would have totally protected against the flank of
Missile battery
LAVs.
lost.
So both players really doing some of the same things
Hostile
could
contact
improve their
Sweep
play.
of all compartments. Seal off those ruptures.
Enemy sighted.
Nicely played from Lorenzo. The unit comp
Hostile contact
solid, getting aircraft, but also shortly after getting
Command
rails.
carrier destruction.
And as we can see near the end, getting battlecruiser fabrication. Because you know what? You might be ahead, but you just never know when something's going to happen. So I really like this from Lorenzo, being prepared for the worst. You know, if this gets all completely wiped by a microwave emitter or something like that, and missile batteries kill all the aircraft, you know, whatever. I've got battle cruisers. It's fine. So, you know, I did say Coalition versus Soban is kind of boring, and I still think so, but this fight in here was really cool. This was not a boring fight. And I think that made it not a boring game. This was a very cool fight, and we saw just how positioning really matters. Having your AAVs up in front of your rails definitely helps, but only if your rails are kind of always able to see your AAVs and beyond. The way that Mordax approached up here left him very vulnerable, and as we can see by all the scarring around here, Lorenzo took advantage of it. So, good game. This is the middle of Artifact Cup 30. This is game 27 or something like whatever 45 divided by 2 plus 0.5 is. That's the game that we're on. So what is that? 23? We're on game 23. Yeah. So a lot of games. Another 22 games to go. We're going to have another 2 on Tight End Passage, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching.